we are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk.
All right, welcome to another episode of P-Car Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are back in the studio. We have quite a bit of Porsche news to go over. Lots of stats, lots of numbers, lots of things coming out, a lot of moving parts. So it's going to be an interesting show. I'm going to chat a little bit about the membership because when you're hearing this, our first live event will be coming out on the Tuesday.
Yep, the 30th.
So you don't have much time left to become part of that virtual stream.
Yep.
So if you're listening to this and you want to be a part of that, make sure you go in there quickly because Aaron needs some time to make sure he gets you all the stuff that you need. Don't be a last minute guy. Don't be one of those people. But enough about that, and we will cover that when we get to it. But again, we do have a lot of Porsche news to talk about, a lot of debate to talk about. So it's going to be a great show. So let's get rolling, Aaron.
All right. So Porsche says that they sold 35,573 911s last year, to be exact.
Very specific.
And that's giving a 10% increase over the last year's numbers.
Okay.
But the
it's quite a bit of 911s, right?
I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, I don't know what to compare that to, but when I just hear that, that's a lot of cars.
For a sports car only type thing.
A lot of cars, right?
I mean, it's essentially one-dimensional. I wouldn't say it is, but I mean, it does more than one thing.
Sounds like a pretty juicy number.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they like it too.
I wish I could sell $35,000 of $150,000 car every year.
Yeah. I mean, if they grow another 10%, they're doing good. That's a big number. But the more interesting topic is that they're saying that only two Porsches with all the options are identical to each other. That's what I was saying.
Lies. I'm just kidding.
So, I mean,
it seems like a pretty outlandish statement to make, doesn't it?
Two identical ones out of almost 40,000 cars.
Yeah, no more than two are the same. I don't know, man.
A lot of base Carreras out there.
I mean, I guess, you and I talked offline a lot about this, but I guess you can quantify it, especially with modern technology, right? With stat gathering and VIN numbers and what you're coded. And I'm not saying it's not accurate, but like, really? I mean,
I don't see how you wouldn't have more than two because you would have a
this one came with different
build.
Floor mats than that one. Is that,
but
are we going to that degree of like
maybe.
the weeds? Like,
the stitch.
Yeah, that one has,
There's not PTS every one of those colors, so that's not a thing.
Yeah.
There's standard options of how many different colors. I mean, that's
I'm just saying,
too.
I've seen a lot of silver Carreras that have black interior. So, like, maybe okay, well, that has PASM and that doesn't. Like, that has...
It's an S.
Yeah, that has sport chrono, that doesn't. Like, that has a sports exhaust, that doesn't. Like, I mean, we could really get in the weeds, and maybe that's what they're doing here.
Yeah. And maybe that is true because they're going 911 and you're talking about Carrera all the way up to Turbo S.
True. There's a lot of, like we've talked many times, there's a lot of variants within that.
ST, all that stuff. And then you start getting
you got your
aero
GT cars,
packages. Mm-hmm.
You got your, then you got your PTS GT cars because everybody's got a PTS.
Yep.
God forbid you buy a silver GT3 and somebody else has a silver GT3.
Yep.
Just jokes, guys, but you know how it is out there. Like, drive the cars. Like, stop worrying about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're the individualist, that's a good shot that you're an individual without you knowing it, without having to go PTS.
Yeah, I want to touch on that for a minute because that's actually an interesting thing you say because I know I've joked around about this before and I'm going to joke a little bit more about it. It's almost kind of like I'm dating myself here because I'm going to make a Mr. Baseball reference.
Okay.
Like when Tom Selleck was arguing with the Yankees before he got sent to Japan, he goes, I batted 500 in the bottom of the ninth in the month of August. That's like, and where I'm going with that analogy is saying like, well, my car has the self-balancing LED lights and yours doesn't.
Exactly. Better.
So our cars are different.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, bro. Like, really? Yeah, they're different if you want to really get in technicalities, but I'm saying like if you're a stat chaser on paper, of course it's going to be different, but like is it really different? And I'm talking about real world. Is it really different?
Drivability.
Yeah, is it really different? well, my seatbelts came different than yours from the factory. We're talking about seatbelts, bro? Really? Seatbelts?
Cool story.
Yeah, your seatbelts are different, so we have a different car? Like you're a one of one because you have yellow seatbelts and I came with black seatbelts? Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here, man. You know, and I'm not saying that this is not a true statement, what they're talking about. And where I'm going with all that tidbit and banter and all that, I feel like they really went into the weeds with this one. I'm not saying that their claim's not accurate.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that? I mean, do you think, essentially they do have to go into the weeds, right? Like
Yeah.
to make that kind of claim.
It's really not enough.
Well, my white Carrera and your white Carrera are different because fill in the blank.
Exactly.
You did PCBs and I did steel brakes. Okay, so technically they're different.
It would be, but then again, like we said, that's not a lot of 911s, that is a lot of 911s, but it's not. Once you divide that number across all the different marks they have, Carrera S, Carrera T, Turbo, Turbo S, GTS, all those styles, divided up, it's really not a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
And I can see and if you have all the different standard paint colors, and then you have the metallics, and you have...
You're right. You're adding a whole nother factor. You're absolutely right,
Yeah.
though. Okay, you have a base Carrera that's white. I have a Carrera S. Okay, so that already separates our cars being different.
Yep.
I see what you're saying. I could get on board with that, but I guess, let's rewind with the comment that's come out on this, and the reason why we're talking about it is just because it was a news article that we had both read and we found interesting. Is this even really? Does this matter?
Does anybody care?
Yeah.
Probably not.
And are we reporting on something it doesn't matter? Like, I think we're being controversial in the sense of like, not saying that it's bullshit, but. Yeah. I guess if obviously if you called them on it, they would probably be able to break it down. And again, I'm smart enough to be able to like read between the lines of like, okay, yeah, your floor mats are different than that one. Okay, technically it's different. Okay.
Well, do you think do you think there's any dilution in the exclusive brand? Because now you're telling me that my car has a good chance of not being like anybody else's.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Maybe, like to answer your question, maybe. Yeah. But I have that sprung an idea in my head. I want to play devil's advocate on the sense, okay, so they're making this claim no two are identical. So what if one is going to be identical? Like, what if the third car exists? Do they say you cannot have that because that already exists? I don't think so. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So you have, let's just, for simplicity purposes, let's say you have 3 white Carrera S's with black interior that all have sport, exhaust,
yep,
and the chrono and the brake package and all that kind of stuff. So you're trying to tell me indirectly, when I say you, Porsche,
yep,
is trying to tell me that if I'm the third buyer in line for that exact spec and you've already sold 2 of them, that maybe you're not going to sell me that car?
It's like,
there's no way in hell, dude.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell.
Yeah,
they're not keeping track of that.
Yeah.
No. Not happening.
That means all 3 cars. There'd be 1 car without sport chrono, or 1 car without a manual.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you're going to try to tell me that if I wanted to be like somebody option their car out, and there's 3 guys in the world that happen to do that, that you're not going to let me have that car? Like, oh, sorry, you got to change the paint color. Oh, you got to change your seatbelts. You're going to be that frivolous?
We're up to 2. We can't make it 3.
Yeah. They're not that crafty. Not to sound, speak ill. The salesmen aren't sitting in there and they have this data log, and then there's this red beacon like in the 80s popping up like, you can't choose that configuration. You can't choose that. No, get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like if somebody picked that configuration and somebody in Sweden picked it and then somebody in South Africa picked it, maybe they're not the same because, okay, maybe the steering wheel's on a different side. Is that considered a different car now?
Is that another change?
It is. It's like a different configuration?
Yeah, how deep does the configuration
Get out of here, brah. But I just thought it was an interesting topic. I'm glad you brought that up because can we quantify it? Maybe.
Yeah.
But does it matter?
No.
So why why even make the claim? Why even put yourself in a position to somebody to challenge that?
Well, maybe. Like I said, maybe it's because you don't have to be as individual, or you don't have to go to lengths to have something not like somebody else. You don't have to make it a BTS color. You don't have to.
It sounds like a psychological sales tactic, right?
Maybe.
Like, oh, you don't have to buy a GT3 and go to PTS.
You're still special, even though you didn't buy a GT car.
You can buy the standard color palette wheel. No other one's going to be like yours. Maybe one other one. Maybe. but technically he has different headlights than you, so they're not the same.
But you'll never see him.
Yeah, and you'll never know the difference. But you guys get the point. It's one of those things. It's kind of like, and I thought it was interesting back to the fact that why even make that claim? Why even put yourself in a position where that can be challenged? Like, no one was asking for that.
Yeah, nobody. No, I don't.
No
think
one was
anybody
shaking
cared.
a fist and saying, "Hey, all of these 911s are all the same." Da 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 da. As far as like, granted, that's a moniker. Everybody always says that they all look the same. Those are the uneducated people. But saying like the people that are like, that 911, that white one looks like that white one. You know, it's like, well, that one's Oxford white and that's actually pearl white. So those are actually technically different. And it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? Like,
No, I'm serious.
but really, it could be that though.
Yeah.
It could be that. But I guess what I'm getting at is, from a big time company, nobody made that ask. But why put yourself in a position, like why back yourself into a corner, if somebody were to challenge that, to say, I want to see the data on that.
And from me reading the article too, it looked like they were saying it, but then they were also kind of advertising that they're doing even more to individualize or being able to configure the car, like the liveries that we talked about before. I think that's more of what the play was.
Or seat differences, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I want one carbon buckets and you want one comfort seats.
Yeah,
Technically, your car's different.
yeah,
Nah.
that's true. I think it was more of a, hey, we're doing even more to make it yours,
Okay. I agree.
more than them going.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Enough said. We beat that topic down. Yeah. What do you guys think? Whatever. I mean, does it even matter? Who knows? So, new Porsche Turbo.
Yep, a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
How much power?
Claims are saying over 600. Now we're talking about Turbo S. We're talking about
Man.
this. I know it sounds ridiculous to say this. The standard turbo.
Yeah.
I know they're all turbos now, but I'm actually talking about the Porsche Turbo. Over 600 horsepower. So to put that in perspective, for the people that aren't buying new cars like us, the last exiting Turbo S had 580 horsepower.
Okay, so we're not talking about a big bump.
But that car has also been set on many, many places before, and we haven't driven one, so we can't say that its 0 to 60 time is just unreal. It rips your face off, the G-forces and the launching and the power and all that kind of stuff. I think it was something under like, what was it, 2.6?
Yeah,
something stupid like that, right?
something
Like
that.
0 to 60. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, that's hyper car stuff. This is going to have 20 more horsepower than the Turbo S. So why I bring that up is that's insane, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100 off from a GT2 RS.
Yeah. And I know that number doesn't sound very sexy in the world of the horsepower world because you have Dodge Demons at 800 horsepower and things like that. But it's the way Porsche puts the power down, right? Like it utilizes all 600. Like you launch in a Dodge Demon, unless you've heated the tires up ridiculously to like 1,000 degrees and launch on a prepped track, you're not going to hook up. So we're talking about a street car that can hook up on crappy asphalt and launch and go because their launch system's so awesome. And it has
all-wheel drive.
PDK.
Yeah.
And like, not that we're stat driven. That number is probably going to be incredible. It's probably going to be like a 2.4.
Yeah, and then imagine a tune.
Yeah. Like neck breaking speed.
Yeah, there won't be much touching it.
You better be looking forward and strapped in, ready to go when that thing launches because it is literally a rocket. And that's not even the Turbo S.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
So, like, what's that going to look like? 620, 630, 640? Ooh, I don't know. Crazy numbers. But I thought some interesting things about this, too. So, the outgoing Turbo price point was $163,000.
Okay.
The Turbo S was $191,000. Now, clearly with a generational turnover, there's going to be basically an increase somewhere.
Has to be.
Do we feel, well, let me rephrase this. Do we feel those numbers are already very expensive before there is even a price increase for the car?
No, because your 992 S's and 4S's are, I mean, they're not much less than that.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I know that sounds really ostentatious to sound that I don't think $191,000 is expensive. But let me put this in perspective for you. The Turbo S can run with a McLaren that costs $300,000.
Yep.
So if you're putting it in that price point, as far as what it can perform like, it's actually a bargain, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
any day of the week.
as we all are Porsche people and we love it, and it just doesn't, I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the car. It does look good. It looks mean, but it doesn't like come off as, oh my God, that's a McLaren. It doesn't have that wow factor.
It doesn't have the flash.
Like, but a lot of people that are listening, that almost is a benefit, I think, right? Because then you can, if you have the means, you can have the ridiculous speed and you can fly under the radar. Because for the uneducated eye, that looks like, again, like I said earlier, it looks, all 911s look the same.
It looks like another Porsche.
It's just a wider 911.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't even know what a Turbo S is, whatever. Until it rips your face off. Yep. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know what that was, but that was really, really fast. And it's backfiring and burbling and,
yep.
It's very scary. So I say it's a bargain when it's competing and it's punching way above its weight class. Now, if you actually break down what the dollars are just in just today's money, of course it's expensive. It's a ridiculous amount of money. You can get a ton of things. People are buying houses for that much money.
And they are.
So, but we're Porsche fanatics. We should be acclimated to expensive prices. Like, people know what engine rebuilds cost. People know what it costs to get stuff done. So we're not Honda, Civic people. Not that that's a bad thing, but from a price perspective, that shouldn't seem that crazy, right? So maybe, a regular turbo, with a 10% increase, we're talking about like almost 180 for like the turbo. And then
I think you're right. It's probably a little bit of a bump. And then
it's going to be. It has to be. Like when you go. I mean, they have.
It's a full new chassis.
It is, and let's be real. Like, they got to make some money. Like, and they're putting a lot of R&D into this car. They're putting a lot into it. I mean, and again, it's one of those things where they're not selling thousands and thousands of these, so they know that. So they need to bump the price to get the most out of it. So my question to you is that too much power even for a Porsche? Is that, I mean, because I know it's a horsepower war and everybody's mind's jaded. And you and I have talked about, I mean, like, my car's got like 280 horsepower. I mean, this is like 3 times that, or double that, excuse me, like, is it one of those things where even Porsche has got caught up in this game?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I don't, well, I mean, everybody is, especially marketing, it's based on stats. You got to compete with those guys within your market. But I don't think it's uncontrollable. I don't think they would release something that that's not safe to use.
Yeah.
I mean, anything can be uncontrollable, and that would be dependent on you being irresponsible.
Well, to be fair, I mean, the great part about the newer Porsches and even like the new Turbo S and things like that, the car will save your ass. You could be a terrible driver and it'll save you because it's all-wheel drive, and it's not like the 80s when you have a 930 turbo. It's not going to put you, you don't get in the car and start it up and it's like, I want to murder you.
Yeah.
Like, this car's like, hey, I'm fast. I'm strong. I'll protect you. Let's go. Let's kick some ass. You get in an older 2-wheel drive, no nannies in it. And it's like, you just hear the Jason music in the background the whole time, right? It's like, ring, ring, ring,
Exactly.
ring. Or Psycho, excuse me. Like, that's Psycho. You hear that music. It's like the car the entire time. It's like, yeah, I may live with you, but I don't like you yet. So
I'm never going to like you.
Yeah, I'm going to murder you anytime I get a chance.
So do you think there's any justification in cost if all the cars are wide-bodied this time? Because remember, the 992 is not getting a different body change.
Good point.
Besides some inlets, probably. I mean, obviously, they're all, you know what? And that's another thing. They're all turboed. They're all wide-body.
Yeah.
Why doesn't everybody have inlets?
Do you just not get the Carrera and just tune it and move on? I don't know.
Well, you're not getting.
What goes back to that thing, right? Like, you're paying for the name. It's the turbo now.
Yeah.
It's the turbo car. It's almost kind of status symbol, right? Mm-hmm. It goes back to like, oh, I know what the turbos cost, and that's a turbo car. As opposed to like, oh, you have a base Carrera. Yeah, it's running a 3-liter with a turbo. I get it, and it's tuned, and it's probably quick, but you didn't pay up for the turbo.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where it's an ego thing. If you've got the money, it's one of those, hey, well, it's special because it's this, it's that. I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up. Monster horsepower numbers. I can't. It's going to be face melting Like
Yeah.
the Turbo S already is, and this is I say base. I hate calling it the base, but the turbo car, not the Turbo S, is gonna have more power than the current Turbo S. And the Turbo S is a face melting car. So what is this gonna be? Like just lava?
Do you think they're going to phase in the e-hybrid system like they did for the Panameras?
I could see that
For the Turbo S's?
I could
mean,
see
it's
that.
going to have to. We know eventually we're going to get full electric stuff.
I don't know if it'll be this gen, but maybe the next gen. And the reason why I say that is like, if they do a .2 or .1 or whatever they end up doing, I say yes, because in the race car era, they use the electric motor to keep the turbo spooled up all the time. So maybe that's what they'll end up doing. So there's never any lag. I mean, they already got a pretty good job where there's not a whole lot of lag, but maybe this is going to keep the turbo spooled the entire time.
And probably extend life.
Yeah. Because you're always running oil then. It's always being lubricated, like instead of like coming down and then the pressure goes down, or that may happen. I mean, there's no doubt that may happen someday. I mean, it's just a matter of time. That it's not about, if, it's just
It's
when.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. What do we got?
So we have the new GT3.
Ooh.
Now
we're talking. That's
has been
my
doing
language.
some things around a fairly famous racetrack, the Nürburgring.
No, I've never heard of it.
And everybody is speculating that it's still NA. Mm-hmm. And that it's going to be about 550 horsepower. So it won't be as powerful as the turbo.
No. But NA 550,
Oh, it's going to be
4 liter.
like you said.
Oh.
So even though wide open, earth tearing in half, just like any other race car shouldn't sound. These numbers, I mean, 550. You think that's even a good number to speculate? You think it's going to be higher than that?
I don't think so, because I think what was that outgoing GT3 is what 515-ish, I think, right? So it's quite a big jump over that, out of that motor, out of that 4 liter. So
And how much do you think is left in that NA motor?
that's a great question, because I wondered that myself when I saw this article. I was like, how much is left there? I mean, because at the end of the day, you got an NA motor. I mean, it's a 4 liter. But they're doing amazing things now, right? So maybe they're finding a way, but I don't know. I think this is probably the end. I would think.
I don't think we've seen numbers any higher than the 500 mark, even in the cup cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If it's NA, it is around, we're always hearing around 500, and it's not until we start getting boosted.
Yeah.
that it starts
So
breaking
to
those
think
numbers.
about this in the parallel sense, right? The C5Z06, not to talk about, but it's a naturally aspirated motor, right? But the thing was like a 7-something liter,
Yeah.
and it had 550 horsepower.
Yep.
Or it was like 550. And it was a monster V8. It wasn't even a 6. It was a monster V8. And they even went to a supercharged engine after that to produce the power that they were looking for. So this may be the end right here.
Yeah.
Because that motor probably is tapped. You got to think about it. You're in a flat 6, you're a 4 liter, you're 2 cylinders down on the 8 liter, and you're producing 550. Now, those numbers aren't confirmed. That's just speculative numbers, like what they're saying that what it could possibly be. And Aaron and I have talked about this in multiple podcasts before, is, buy them up now while you can. I mean, I'm not getting paid by Porsche to say this, but I think we're going to be at the end of a run, no matter what they say. They're like, oh, well, there'll always be this and there'll be that. I just don't see how that's possible. Unless they bring up the displacement, unless it turns into a 5 liter.
Ooh, there we go.
It's a 5 liter flat 6 at that point. Bump it up a whole nother liter. Okay, now we're talking. And that's entirely possible too, because these are low production cars. Who knows? I would love it if they stayed that way. I don't want them to go any other way.
We know that from the past that the motors can be punched out because of shark works.
Of course.
So that we know there's room in it. It's just, is there reliability over a long haul for that?
And that's the thing,
consumer-wise versus race car.
Exactly, because now you run into an area of, okay, you sell 3,000 of these cars. Are you running into an area of, I'm having to recall all these like they've have done before, because motors are grenading.
On fire.
Yeah, and they're like, holy crap, we need to revisit this. I'm sure they've learned that lesson, so they're probably being ultra cautious with that.
And keeping good tolerances.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, you don't want to have to you don't want to give people free engines after they've already bought a car. Now you're negative.
No, that's a good way to lose money and not go racing.
Yeah, it's not a good business model, right? Like, oh, okay, yep, sorry, 1,000 miles in, you grenaded your motor. Like, okay, moving on. Like, but, honestly, is it possible that they're going to have the 550, even though that's a speculation number? I think so. I mean, I heard the RSR at Goodwood, the new one with the side exhaust, and it sounded, believe it or not, it sounded meaner than the current RSR, which is, if you've heard it in person, is kind of unfathomable if you think about it, because that car is ear-piercingly loud.
Yeah.
And this car wasn't all the way up there, and it was louder than that car.
And don't you think it's a strange move to go side exhaust? Because you think about how the exhaust has to travel out. The shorter path would be straight out the back.
Yeah, you would think that too. Like, I thought about that too. I was like, but they said they're saving weight there, so I just don't really understand.
I mean, I haven't got on there and measured to see the length of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe they need,
They wouldn't lie. I
Yeah.
mean, if they're saving weight from it, they're saving weight from it. How much weight? I mean, we're talking kilograms at this point. Like,
yeah. You know what it is?
What?
They went so far. It's mid-engine now. It's so far up. It's so far up
I'm
there.
glad you said that, because I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say that, because what you talked about, the rear of the car, like, you and I saw this like multiple times, like, and we were under the skirt of it. At least I was under the skirt of it at the 24-hour Rolex, because they had the whole back half done. And I was like, you could put a set of golf clubs in the hatch of that, even the race car now, because the engine is so far forward. And I'm pretty sure this is full on mid-engine at this point, without them saying it's not mid-engine, because now you think about it, like you said, with the exhaust,
that's going to be a shorter run. That's the only thing I can think about.
If the car's set up like this and the car's all the way there, and it's exhausting out the side instead of traveling all the way to the back, well, they're right. It is saving weight, because they're having to put a lot more piping to get to the rear of the car, because the engine is so far forward.
Yep.
So to dump to the side, because that's where the engine is now, sitting right behind the driver, well, that makes total sense.
And that explains the loudness.
Exactly. And now we're mid-engine.
Well, welcome everybody, mid-engine world.
Yeah. We are here. We knew it was going to happen. I'm not mad at them for it. I mean, it's just going to, for everybody in podcast land and YouTube land that's watching, all that's going to do is, if you actually have a rear engine Porsche, excuse me, it's just going to add to the value of it, right? Because now they're going to be like, remember when Porsche used to be rear engine? Now they're all mid engines.
Yep.
Well, I think that day is upon us. From a racing standpoint, it only makes sense. That engine has been getting pushed forward for a long, long time. And for people that don't know that, well, welcome to the party, because that's not something that happened yesterday or happened this year. It's been incrementally moving forward this entire time that they've been IMSA.
That's the best balance, whether the Porsche wants to admit that or not.
Yeah. And that's our flagship car, right? Like, so maybe they came in was their test bed the entire time to say, okay, well, this is the mid-engine platform. Like, maybe mid-engine works for us. Let's just start inching it forward.
Thanks, Cayman buyers.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting the cause, brothers. But so, news on that. That's going to be amazing. Like, that's another ear-piercing monster car. No talks of manual yet with that car. But I recall that Porsche executives were saying that car will probably come in a manual. I've heard talks of that. Nothing confirmed on that, but I just recall that was being said by somebody important in Porsche, saying that car would eventually come with a manual transmission.
If not, Mike was dreaming about it, then it's going to come in a manual.
Yeah. If I'm saying it on the podcast, it will happen. We've kind of figured this out.
It
So
does tend to follow suit. It's weird.
I need to make up some lotto numbers so we can actually hit the lotto and become rich, right? And just
But we can't say it on the podcast, though.
Yeah,
because then we're sharing it.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Yeah, we want everybody to be millionaires, right? Like,
yeah.
Who knows? But no talks of that yet, and also no talk of actually when the car is going to debut. Even though it's been running like crazy at the ring, there's actually no talk of like when they're going to debut the car to show the public. They haven't released anything with that. So I find that to be interesting too. So it sounds like typical Porsche. They're doing tons of R&D, which is a great thing for all of us. So that's a good thing.
They're probably giving the race teams too, the customer race teams, time to
Adjust.
run their car that they just bought,
Exactly.
or something like that, and run it out.
Exactly. And
Parts changing, inventory, all that sort of thing.
Of course. So, where are we at on time? Okay, so let's take a break, and then we'll come back from break, and we'll talk about the Spyder a little bit, and actually want to pound you guys a little bit more with the P Car Club membership, because we're going live on Tuesday, which is literally
Tuesday,
which is literally like 4 days from now.
Yeah.
So want to get everybody who wants to get in on it, and again, we're giving away, like, it's your best chance to win something.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Your numbers are low, right? So before this thing gets out of hand, and we start giving away cars and crap, get in now, right? So we'll go on a break, and we'll be right back.
See you.
Thank you guys listening to PCAR Talk so much. We appreciate you guys so much. I can't say that enough. Please go to pcartalk.com and check that out. We have a virtual membership on there. We are on there on Tuesdays meeting with you guys. Become a virtual member. We would solely appreciate that so much. Also check us out on YouTube. We release videos on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Help support the channel. Everything we're doing is trying to bring the community closer together. We definitely appreciate that. Also, when you go onto YouTube, if you could subscribe, maybe pass it along, make a comment, we really appreciate that. Again, circling back to pcartalk.com, there is a newsletter created on there. Please put your information in there. That way we can keep you up to date on anything that's coming forward and anything that we're going to be doing moving forward, and all the exciting things that are coming out. And again, the virtual membership is on pcartalk.com. Now back to the show.
We are back from break. Before we move into the Spyder bit, want to go into, in 4 days, we are going to be having our first live stream for PCAR Club members only. How do you become a PCAR Club member? Well, you go to pcartalk.com, click under virtual member, and become a member. So the great thing about that is it's building strength in the community. We already have a handful of people that we thanked on many episodes. And our goal is to basically continue to build that community, continue to build that strength. With your membership, you can read all the details. I won't go over them, but, I encourage you to look at the website. Like, you get decals, shirts, and there's free giveaways with the show. The strength in the membership will determine basically, like, the giveaways will get better and better and better. Yep. So,
and the things we do are going to also exponentially change too. That's the whole thing. There's a lot more planned behind it than what you see currently. We need to launch at some point.
Yeah, very good point, Aaron. There's a lot of things cooking behind the scenes that you guys aren't seeing that pertains to this. So I would highly encourage you to get involved now, and be proactive instead of reactive to the situation. Not that things are going to change and be more expensive to you, but like the buy-in is going to be better, to be one of those guys to say like, hey, I believed in this community, there really is a passing of the torch that's happening, and we want to spearhead that. And there's a lot more stuff coming with this, drives, all this stuff, eventually we want the membership to grow long enough where we're giving a car away to the membership specifically. We're going to do a car build and basically give that away. Like, we hope it gets to that point. We want to practice what we preach. Like, if we say, hey, the 996 C2 is a great car regardless of the headlights, and we spec it out the way we want to spec it out and build it out the way we want to build it out, we want to showcase that, build content off that, and then give one of the PCAR Club, the loyal members, one of those cars. And,
exactly.
And we love everybody who's listening, and we're not trying to solicit you, oh, you have to become a member, but if you want to get those perks and those incentives, yeah, that's fine. If you want to just listen to the show and enjoy the free content, great. We love you for that too. But if you want to step into that next realm and like be more involved in the community, which we highly encourage you to do, it's a great networking tool, right? So that's the whole purpose behind it, is so we can actually continue to grow all of you and put all of you in the same room together. That's the whole purpose behind this. That's the whole purpose behind getting your commitment to come into the PCAR Club, instead of just somebody who's listening to this in their car and then moving about their day. Not that that's a bad thing, but we would love for you to take it to that next level where we can actually put everybody in that microcosm where everybody's saying, hey, I am randomly traveling to, wherever in the U.S., like Minot, North Dakota for some reason, and I see that there's 2 Porsche PCAR Club members that are there. I'm going to text them or DM them through our Facebook thing. And because we're showing everybody it's a member and hey, dudes, I'm going to be here for 3 days for work and it really sucks. And I know there's not a lot going on here. Would any of you be interested in meeting up and having a beer and talking shop and talking about Porsche? That's the whole reason behind it. It's not the reason like, oh, we want your money. Like, we're investing your money back in. We want to give you back as much as you're putting in. We want to give you stuff back. Like, trust me, everything that you're putting in is coming right back out to you guys. Believe me when I say that. Like, believe me. But again, we're going live here in 4 days. Please be a part of that. The only way you can really be a part of that, I know we're trying to be all inclusive, but there's a separation there, like where we need a little bit of commitment, and we want to do that for you guys. But with that commitment comes exponentially tons and tons of stuff that come with it. Tons of giveaways, tons of information, tons of access, tons and tons and tons of stuff.
Tons.
So enough about that. So let's talk a little bit about the Spyder, the new Spyder that's coming out. Exciting car, right?
Yeah, finally getting some GT parts versus the whole humdrum.
Yeah, let me throw some numbers at you. 414 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque. 309 foot-pounds of torque, excuse me, at 8,000 RPM red line.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize it was up to 8,000.
Yeah, in an open roof car.
So that's going to be some good noises.
Yeah, naturally aspirated 4-liter. Smoking.
That's going to be good. Incredible.
Yeah. What a great car. What a great commitment by Porsche to finally put the bits of the GT4 drivetrain into something that's an open roof car. I know there's a lot of guys that are more hardcore that are listening to us. They're like, man, I'd rather have the GT4 coupe. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think this car is more special than the GT4 coupe, to be completely honest with you.
Yep.
Like, I think this car is paying homage to like the old school 550 Spyder, like that old
the
style,
real race car style,
the real stuff, right? Like where it's like, dude, what's costing us more weight here? Well, we got a roof on, chop the damn roof off.
Yeah,
we got a windshield, well, take that out. Like,
Done.
just throwing stuff out of the car just to make it lighter, right? And Porsche's always been about that, right? Like race. Like, what can I do to make it lighter? Like, we don't need to bump the power up. The car's got plenty of power. You can drive the car around the track. We want to put the power down. Let's take stuff out of the car. And that's what they're doing with this car. And kudos to Porsche for finally stepping into that arena and saying, okay, they have, and this is not a shock. I mean, anybody who's paying attention to what they're doing is they've made Spyders before, but it shared more with the Boxster GTS than it did with their GT car. This is the exact opposite this time around. They're sharing more with the GT car than the actual Boxster portion. And I think that's why I love the car so much.
Yeah, I think they're stepping into or just realizing more of the motorsport feel across the line.
I agree with that. So what are your thoughts on this car? I kind of know, but I don't want to answer for you. These two cars that are coming out, if you had to choose, money, no object, and you had an allocation for one, GT4 Spyder, what would you choose?
I mean, I do like the open airness of the Spyder and the sound, because I like the sounds a lot. But I don't want to have to worry about it in the weather, even though, I mean, yes, there's a tent thing that goes on top of it. They still haven't fixed that aspect of it.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let's be real.
Okay.
This isn't going to be your only Porsche.
Okay, so
if you have this car,
I'm probably Spyder then.
Because the people that are buying this car, there's no way in hell this is their only Porsche.
Yeah, I'm probably Spyder at that point.
Yeah, I just think, and I didn't say that to try to influence you. I'm just saying that to put that into perspective because I really, really do. I feel passionate about this car because I can't afford one, so it's not like I have an allocation and Porsche's paying me to say any of this. Like, I really do feel like this is a special car. A lot of R&D has got into this car, and I think. Well, there's not a secret because they've sold out all of them this year. So the Porsche brand, in a sense, anytime they make something special, or they usually don't have a hard time selling it. But I really do think that, fast forward a decade or even 2 decades, I feel this particular car, even if it has I think they said it was going to have a 3-year run. Even with those 3-year run of cars, I think this car is going to be a lot more coveted than a GT4 coupe.
So do you think you treat it like a little speedster?
I think so. I do. I think not to contradict what you just said, I think you treat it like a Spyder, like a 550 Spyder from back in the day. I think that's what you do. You don't treat it it's not a speedster.
Right.
It's its own animal. But I get what you're saying. It's a GT car. It has GT specs, and I think that this particular car, and the people I've talked about before, shame on them for having multiple allocations, but good for you too. I'm jealous only because I'm saying that because I can't afford it, but I would love to own one of these, to be honest with you. And I think this pays homage back to even like, I know they're making the Speedster, don't get me wrong. And I think that car is paying homage back to like the back in the day, the original Speedster, like, cause they're putting the GT car and that like stuff in it. They've lightened it up, back to where California, back in the 50s where they really embraced this car, right? Like the Canyon Carver, and it's this and it's that. And I love the lines on the new Speedster, don't get me wrong. But I feel, and we talk about this a lot, the size of the Speedster is still a big car, right?
Yeah.
It's still a lot of, when you look at the car, the mass is still there. You look at an old Speedster, I mean, that thing is like
tiny,
petite, right? And I almost feel that the new Spyder shares more heritage with the older Speedster than the newer Speedster does. You see where I'm going with this? So because of the size. So I'm thinking the home run there, and price point too, right? Like we're talking about $100K for this car, if you can get an allocation.
Yeah.
I think this car is going to be, I don't know, revolutionary. I don't want to use that word because that sounds ridiculous, but I think it is going to be a big game changer within that.
It's a proper Spyder for once.
Yeah, for what it is, right? Like as opposed to like the ones before where it's like, it's a Boxster on steroids and all that kind of stuff. And
but it's not.
Like this has got GT heritage in it now, like because it's sharing it with the GT car. And there's a lot of R&D, with the rear diffuser and the front diffuser, and all the stuff is actually thought out where they kind of brought it back.
So I know I've done some research on the new Spyder, but I haven't dove in a ton. Is it doing exactly like the GT4 is and using GT3 bits in it further than just the motorsport motor?
Yeah, exactly. It's been re-engineered. Like the engine's been re-engineered. It's got different pistons, different stuff like that. It's been totally redone. And I think that alone, that Porsche has made that commitment to actually do that, as opposed to taking something and just kind of
that's all.
like beefing it up. Like they've put more effort into it, right? So I think that speaks volumes for what they're trying to do. And then I don't know if I was sold. I'll be totally transparent. I don't know if I was sold prior to going to Goodwood, but then I saw it at Goodwood in person, got to sit in the car, got to look at the car, got to see it go up the hill. And after all of that, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I wish I could buy one and be sold, but I'm sold as far as buying, as far as commitment, because again, I may be old school 911 thinking about this, but like the size dimension is aesthetically pleasing for my eyes, where it's not this huge bulbous thing. And I'm not trying to talk trash about the new Speedster because it's beautiful in its own right.
You'd have one too.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I had infinite funds, I'd have every car on the list, and I would spec it exactly the way I want. But unfortunately, I'm a gutter rat. So
and then no two would be the same.
Exactly. And exactly. Good point, right? Yeah. Play on words. But at the end of the day, like I think this really is a special car, with a 3-year run. And I think I was talking not directly with one of the Porsche engineers. I guess I was kind of eavesdropping, but I heard him say that one of the most proud things that the Porsche engineering feat was proud of is how much downforce they were able to capture from the rear diffuser of the Spyder.
Yeah, without doing a giant GT4 wing.
Exactly. So it's kind of a mind mess.
And I wouldn't even have thought about it.
It kind of screws with your head, right? Because you think of rear diffuser, bottom, and that's creating downforce. Like, I'm not a mechanical engineer. I like to say that I can, think of things like critically, like I'm a critical thinker. But even behind that, like, it kind of screws with my head to say, like, wait a minute, that rear diffuser is causing more downforce. And I think that's amazing that they've been able to figure that out, to say, okay, well, this is going to be an open cab car. It's not going to have a monster spoiler because that's going to look ridiculous.
Yep.
It does have active aero on the rear. It has a little bit of like that little
like the
lip.
Norma,
Yeah, that
the
little
normal
lip.
Cayman wing.
Exactly, that little wing it comes up. That probably helps a little bit. But the fact that of all the things they did, decided to speak on and say that they were proud of. They talked about the rear diffuser.
Yeah.
So that speaks volumes for what the R&D that they put into that car.
That's a big deal.
It is. And I find that to be actually pretty fascinating because I like to get in the weeds about like kind of stuff like that. And
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Maybe think, were there any comparative numbers between the two, the GT4 and the Spyder?
As far as like downforce numbers or
like just numbers in general, like kind of not really 0 to 60s or stuff like that, but are they super comparative between the two, or is there
to be completely honest with you, I didn't even try to like do any research on that. Like I didn't even look into that while I was there. I was just kind of enthralled by just being in the presence of both of the cars.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the front lip on the GT4 is a little bit bigger. So the car is probably, of course, creating more downforce. It's a coupe. It's got a wing. But, I mean, that's solely track driven, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, too. The odds that I'm putting my Spyder on track are probably
exactly
not as great as the GT4.
Yeah, so you have to place the car properly, right? So in your mind, so reset your head for a second and think about where this car lives. The Spyder lives in a B road in a winding forest somewhere on a beautiful day with you and your companion next to you while you're ripping through the gears and listening to the beautiful exhaust and things like that, and the radio's not on. Wherever that may be, Europe, California, United States, wherever, like wherever you have a road like that, that's where that car lives, in my mind. So, you see it on a winding road in Colorado, or you see it on a winding road somewhere like where it's a beautiful day out, where it's not scorching heat, but it's not also super cold. Maybe it's like 72 degrees with like hardly any humidity, the sun's shining, you're just blasting away. And then you're going, it sounds pretentious, but maybe you're going to a vineyard. Maybe you're just going to grab some lunch. But like, that's what this car is.
And I know with the GT4, they're doing a manual and they're possibly doing a PDK. Mm-hmm. Same thing for the Spyder.
The one I saw was a manual. I think
they're doing the same thing, same drivetrain then.
Yeah.
So they're using the old GT4 manual.
I wouldn't know anybody who would want to buy that car in a PDK, to be completely honest with you, because at the end of the day, you're not hunting lap times, and clearly a PDK car is going to hunt lap times.
Yep.
I think with that car, you're enjoying the drive. It goes back to the basics of what you and I always talk about: is you're rowing through the gears, you're listening to the exhaust, you're feeling the car. And all of those things in a modern car are happening, but you're getting the old school feels out of it. And I think that's why I feel so strongly about this car, because I love those feels. And again, I think they hit a home run. Like, granted, I haven't driven one. Like, that's the final test. Not that I'm the end all say all.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen with my own eyes in person so far, it seems magnificent.
Yeah. I agree.
And no wonder they're sold out. Not shocked.
So do you think if they hadn't have gone with the GT motor, that they wouldn't have sold as quickly, or do you think that doesn't matter? Or
I think it has a big factor. My personal opinion. I think it has a huge factor. That's what sparked my interest on it. Because to be completely honest with you, if you told me that you were running a 718 flat 4 with a turbo in that car, I wouldn't even think about that car. I'd be like, well, that's a cool exercise, but I don't want one. But now you put a flat 6 in it, and it's screaming and it's doing all these things like as opposed to a track car is supposed to do. But it's open canopy and it's, and I know that's not like a track driven car, but I'm being a realist. Like, unless you're a track rat, you're really not living on the track. And I think a lot of people lie to themselves when they buy these GT cars, or they they're not honest. They don't say who they really are as a person. Well, I'm going to take the car to the track. And then they sell the car 2 years later, and you're like, how many times has it been on the track? Never. Shocker.
Almost.
Shocker. Oh, you did a parade lap at Daytona? Oh, cool.
Yep.
So I think this car really checks that box, in my personal opinion. I think it checks the box of the realist.
The usability.
Yeah, if you're real about who you are as a person, you're getting GT bits, but you're enjoying the road drive. So, like you said, you would own one. Do you feel like the $100K price point is fair? Too much? What do you think about that?
I think for all the GT that I'm getting, I think that's probably a fair price.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, then I think that it may be a little bit lower. I wouldn't say that it would need to be parallel with what the GT4 is costing if that wasn't the case.
I think for me, I think the only, if I have to put a blemish and I'm reaching at this point, and I know they have to do limited runs because this isn't something that is a mass production car, but like, I guess I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, is maybe not put a number on this car as far as like, oh, we're making fill in the blank, this many, and we're only making this many for this year. But I feel like if you want one of these,
Yep.
why can't you just get one?
What's the fun
Meaning-
in that?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying but it creates a marketing sense of,
Because it's a GT car. No matter how you want to look at it, it's a GT car, and that's limited.
yeah. I just think for the masses, I think this car would be better enjoyed is not like, I almost feel like this is going to turn into like all that other stuff, right? Like that
Yeah.
always is happening. Like, oh, I'm going to buy this allocation, then I'm going to reflip the car, I'm going to broker it out, I'm going to make a ton of money off it.
I mean, possibly. But then again, I think that we always go back to the practicality and logical thinking that Porsche has, and they think about, well, how many people are actually going to buy this car? Yes, it's sold out, and it's always good to say that they're sold out. But what's their market? Does everybody want this GT style car, or are people satisfied with just buying the normal Boxster or Boxster S?
And maybe I'm saying that because
Or
I really
GTS.
want the secondhand market for the price to go down so I can get a hold of one, because there's no way in hell I could afford $100,000. I'm just not that
I
kind
mean,
of guy.
the current Spyders that are on the market, they didn't hold their value, but again, they didn't have GT bits, like you're saying.
Yeah, and I think these cars will hold a higher value because of that alone. And because they're in high demand. Like, there's a buzz around them. There really is. I was there. I was present. I saw the people like are reacting to the car. There is a buzz.
So
around
do you
this
think
car.
that it's actually more in want than the GT4?
I think so. And the reason why I say that is because it's so different, right? In 16, they had a GT4 already.
Yep, and it really looks close to that
Exactly.
same one. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you're pumping up the motor. Okay, I get it. That's cool. And I'm not saying like there's a lot of Cayman diehards that want the coupe and they want that GT4. I'm not talking about you guys. You guys are omitted. You guys are out.
We know.
Yeah, we get it. You guys are diehards. You guys are tapped in. I'm talking about just the general populace. There's more of a reaction when you see a roofless car, because what it does is inspire different things. And Porsche's smart with marketing, right? Because it's a added tool, like everybody always says it, Barrett Jackson, oh, the roof goes down, the price goes up, all that kind of crap.
Yep.
Those added things. But it's a real emotion. It really is. The car's sitting there with the roof off, and then you see them go up the hill with the top down, and you hear the exhaust, and you hear how much power it has, and it's screaming down the road, and you're closer to the exhaust because you don't have a roof line and a window blocking
No
you
sound
out.
deadening, no
Exactly.
anything.
There's none of that there, and you're sitting right there, and it changes your emotion with the car. It really changes how you feel about the car. And I was watching people react to the car while I was standing there, and it's a real thing. So, and I get it. You and I are both on the track focused side of things. Like, oh, we like track stuff. I want an RSR.
Well, I mean,
like,
that car immediately, European style, I think about going to Monaco or going to,
Exactly,
to
right?
just driving, just enjoying it
Yeah.
vacation wise.
Yeah, Italian countryside, whatever. You place that car in those type of pretty settings, like that car fits in all the time. There's a time and place, for the nasty, like my car and other people's cars where they set them up and it's like, look, this is a track beast. This is what this is for. I still love that. Don't get me wrong. But that's why Porsche makes multiple cars, because
You can
you
have,
can
both.
have all of them.
Yeah.
You could have that, hey, babe, let's go out to dinner. And then you go rip. And it's like, oh, my God, this is just glorious. Like, can we just can you call them and make our reservation for 30 minutes less, like further out? Because I just want to go rip a little bit more.
We got 30 minutes of road I got to find.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I want to drive a little bit more, or I want to go do this. And I really feel of all the cars that they've come out with more recently, from all the way encompassing from a price point, all the way to what the bits of the car is, I feel like at the price level of what this car is and for what you get, and the emotion that this car can spark, size, all that stuff, like all the factors. Like I really feel this car's a sweet spot. I really do. You know, call me stupid, I guess. I don't know.
Just call you in love. You just want one.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get tons of comments on it. It's like, you're an idiot. Why would you want a convertible car? Da, 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 da.
911 guy, huh?
That's a freaking moron. Like, I guess I'm stupid. I don't know. But it really does. I mean, I'm just speaking from the heart. And I wear my emotions on my sleeve. The people that know me, it really is. I mean, I really feel it's a special car. And I think Porsche did a really good job with this. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Do you think that the GT4 and the Spyder having these flat sixes inspired the whole entire lineup to change back to the flat six?
I think yes and no. Yes, from a standpoint of for what you're asking, yes. But I think Porsche has a real, believe it or not, is arrogant as they seem to the rest of us at times. They actually really listen to their customers, believe it or not. When you actually break it down, like they listen to people that are buyers, not not the tire kickers, but the actual buyers of people. And I think there was a real like backlash to say, that's fine. I get what you want to do. Like, cause when you use that 718, and there's a lot of purpose and points behind that. Like if you reach back in history, believe it or not, there was a lot of flat fours in race cars. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for people to say like, why did they do this? This is ridiculous. Why did they do that? I mean, really, honestly, if you really break it down to the nuts and bolts of things, they're paying homage to the old school race cars. Because there was a lot of old school like flat four cars, like twin cams and all this kind of stuff that they used to use actually in race, hill climbs, all that kind of stuff. So it's actually paying homage to those cars. Now, from a consumer standpoint, I kind of agree with everybody else who's saying, well, I really like the flat six,
Yeah,
so
it sounds and feels.
So I think what Porsche has done is said, okay, let's give you an engine option. And I think that's the right choice to say, you can get the flat four turbocharged if you want, or you can get the flat six. I think that's the way they should have came out the gate to begin with.
Yeah, that's a good solution. I see that.
But see, so they backtracked a little bit to put themselves in that arena, and good for them for doing it. They could have been stubborn and said, you know what? No, we're not doing that. I don't care what you guys want. We're not. It doesn't matter. Like, but I think it's nice that they listen and that option's there, because you think about it, like you and I are business minded. You think about it from a production cost. I mean, that must be costing them an arm and a leg to be able to supply multiple different engines.
Retool everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To say, oh, this Cayman's getting a flat six. Oh, this Cayman's getting a flat four. And everybody who's naive to it, it's like, oh, it's just a plug and play. It's not. It really isn't.
Does it have to be a different motor?
Exactly.
Than
There's a lot more. There's different cooling going on. Because now you have an NA motor and you have a boosted motor. Like, there's different stuff going on. Like, oh, you got an intercooler. This one doesn't have an intercooler. Like, there's a lot of moving bits. And I'm not saying because I feel sorry for Porsche, but I'm just saying it from a perspective of like, let's think about this for a minute. Like, they're actually, they could have given us the middle finger and said, no, we're not doing that. It's cost us too much money. Screw you guys. Then don't buy the car. I don't care.
Yeah, we've moved on.
Yeah.
Time for you.
Exactly. But, they've kind of submitted to say, okay, we hear your battle cries. Fine. You guys want the car? Put your money where your mouth is. Buy them then, because you have the option.
And I bet you it's on a time thing, too.
Oh, a guaranteed. 100% guaranteed. The Germans are very intelligent. They're sitting down. They're cataloging everything. Okay, we sold 7,000 flat sixes in 2 years in the Cayman. Guess what? Cancel the program. Yeah. Not happening. We're done. Because we're going in the red over this car. I mean, it's just business, But hope you guys enjoyed the show. We talked a little bit about things, tons and tons of information about new cars coming out, membership stuff. Do you have anything else, Aaron, before we close up?
I've asked all my questions.
All right.
All my things.
Well, we thank you guys so much. We thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Yep, see you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCAR Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCAR Talk or online at PCARTalk.com.